Hello and welcome to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland show. This show, always on Wednesday at 5:30 every other week, talks about the wonderful Charles River and the parklands, how people take care of it, how people prepare to swim in it, the elected officials who care for it. And today we are looking from a very different lens at this river. We're looking at it from a visual artist's point of view. The river as a public space, the river as a place that belongs to all of us. So I would like to welcome our guest today. We have here with us Associate Professor from MIT, Gediminas Urbonas. Welcome.
Thank you, Renata.
And Gediminas is here from Vilna in Lithuania. And Vilna is also a river city. And maybe you tell us, give us a sense of how the Nevis River compares to the Charles River, any similarities between your river city and the city where you're teaching at now. And then we'll talk about some of your art projects to get our viewers a sense of how you're using that concern for the environment, the concern for spaces, the concern for evoking a sense of place, and how you will be translating that into art here with your students, and then some historic pieces of public art about the Charles River that you're using for your work.
Thank you, Renata. It is a great pleasure for me to speak about the river, and to start speaking about that, I would like to introduce the background for this interest and the passion for the river as a mnemonic device, as a public space, and as a recording device as well for all these collective memories. I would like to start speaking about this from unfolding my background and little bit introducing this post-colonial situation where I'm coming from, that is chatting all these recent traumatic experiences, like that made the huge influence, and still these memories are still participating in the present moment of transformation. And few things to mention is the experience of the totalitarian regime, the Afghanistan war, and the Chernobyl catastrophe and the following ecological disaster. These tragic and traumatic markers of the history, of the recent history, I would say they are produced the total disruption, the civic disruption and environmental disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And they also gave a huge impact, produced a huge impact for my generation
mm-hmm.
of citizens and of the artists to address the civic and environmental dimension.
Yeah, I mean, on the Charles River, we obviously we have the environmental issues that this river really was an industrial sewage. We were fortunate here that there were no events like the ones you mentioned that affected your hometown during the program and then also in the most recent history. But the environmental issues probably have some similarities.
Yes, and for me precisely the river that is accumulating all these residues.
Yeah,
all these
literally and figuratively. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to think as for artists and as for citizens, to think about the river as the space, as a public space,
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
was really essential. And just to mention some concrete examples of Vilnius River,
mm-hmm.
That is charting the old part of the city, and it is connected very much to the history of the place,
mm-hmm.
to the history, first of all, to the Jewish history,
mm-hmm.
and recent appetites of the developers, and people like investors and big companies coming from Scandinavia or other countries who maybe do not aware of the local history and local cultural memory, create conflictual situations. And myself, I was involved in several of the initiatives who are concerned with the preservation of the history of the place.
Yeah, and you worked on one for the Biennale in Venice. Maybe we want to start with that one of where you use, I think, the last, what you call it, foreign occupation building in Rome, the Villa Lithuania, and then you kind of created a piece of art around it. Maybe you want to speak about that, and then we'll move to the pieces in Vilna. Does that make sense?
Well, speaking about Villa Lithuania project for Venice Biennial, indeed it is important chapter, again, trying to understand the relationship between the water and the city.
Yeah.
Venice is as the oldest biennale and as all this international exhibition that is based in the lagoon, in the island, surrounded by this impossible situation of the water constantly invading the city, constantly putting into the question all this very important architectural and engineering heritage, makes that place into the ultimate embodiment of the power through the engineering and the architectural thought.
I'm going to move you forward because we're not going to go through our history if we need to move forward. So I would love for you to speak about this very evocative picture here of Venice and the lagoon, the water, and what did these homing pictures do here? Can you tell us about those?
So for our project, we wanted to address the precisely the moment of the occupation and of
the liberation
of the liberation at the same time. So in the image, what you see, the pigeons as a symbol for the peace. That was famous icon that Pablo Picasso created and suggested as a symbol of the peace. So in this image you have you see the liberation of 1,200 homing pigeons coming from Russia, from Italy, and from Lithuania, and all of them flying back home with the idea to participate in this international competition. Also in relation to Venice Biennial, but in relation to the sports competitions. And in this work, we are working with the people, with the pigeon fanciers from different countries, in order to create this dialogical space. Instead of, as a tool to think about the history. And in this work, we are addressing the absence of the building that was that has extremely interesting history. It is also connected to the history of Boston. Because I'm just very worried that we're never going to get to the Charles River. So do you want to? We want to kind of make sure you have time to show this artwork of that you have found here in Boston as well. So